is the TNH Podcast Network.
Tacko Fall and Alex Caruso. The fact that these guys get so much exposure, I'll bet more people know who Alex Caruso is than they know Pascal Siakam or Jaylen Brown.
It really is just social media is so prevalent in our society that, like, Caruso has a few good games and he's playing with LeBron and AD. Automatically, he's this god or something.
But there's the argument that it's not just like the Joe Schmoes on Twitter that are promoting him. It's like the legitimate NBA writers who are tweeting about these guys.
It's a fan vote. I don't think anyone should be offended by that. I think that Alex
Chris Paul should be offended by that.
I mean, I just
SGA,
think obviously those players are better. I think just fans like being fans.
This new audience, they're going to watch it for a minute, but when they're watching it and they only see a guy who's playing 10 minutes a night, and you just see on Twitter all this talk about Alex Caruso, Tacko Fall, you'll be expecting to see Alex Caruso doing a lot, but what you're going to get is Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris doing their thing, and they're not going to know who these people are, and they'll be like, why am I supposed to care about this if these guys aren't getting publicized? What is good, everyone? Today is Friday, January 24th, 2020, and welcome to the 9th episode of the second season of the HoopCats podcast on the TNH Podcast Network. My name is Sam Eggert, and I'm here with mostly the gang. We got Matt Erb and special guest Chad Ripley. Boys, how we doing?
It's an honor to be here, finally.
Sam, I haven't even talked on the podcast since last decade. Can you believe that?
I haven't talked on the podcast since last decade either.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while.
It's been, what, a month and a half?
Yeah, a little over a month.
It feels like decades.
Yeah,
it feels like more than one decade.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Does that even make sense?
Makes as much sense as some of the stuff I heard today. So.
Well, Chad, you haven't been on the podcast yet, so welcome.
Thank you. I'm here to disprove everything that Yanni has ever said in the 2 seasons here.
Not hard to do. Not hard to do at all.
Him and I had a bet last year that the Lakers would make the playoffs, and he bet that they wouldn't. And you know, we all know how that went out.
Yeah, I was gonna say he won that bet. So, like, what's the deal?
The deal was I had to buy him. I had $50 owed to him, but LeBron failed me last year, and I don't know. Wasn't happy with how that season ended last year.
Well, that leads me into a natural question. Are you a LeBron hater?
Not necessarily a hater. I wouldn't consider myself a hater. I think he's a great player, but I think some of his antics on the court are very unlikable.
Finally, a majority aren't LeBron haters for once on this podcast.
Aren't all three of us LeBron haters?
No, I don't hate him. Yanni.
Yeah, you have a large cutout of LeBron.
I do. And
that looks over you every night when you sleep.
Well, no, I brought it home. It's not. It's Ainsley. Ainsley now watches me.
Ainsley's a little cooler.
Ainsley's he's way cooler. Anyway, LeBron is like Yanni hates LeBron personally. Like,
I do too.
It's not. Yeah, and you do too, which I don't get. I've heard Yanni say he's a bad father, and that just boggled my mind.
I don't know about that, although he probably is.
How can you even say that, though? What drives someone to say that? You don't even know him personally, and you're saying he's a bad father.
It's because of this. I think that, like, Bronny is a great player, and there's no denying that. And he was going to get publicity either way because he's really, really talented, and he's LeBron's son. I just think that LeBron takes advantage of his son's spotlight. Because, like, do you remember that video where Bronny was, like, playing really well, and LeBron was, like, dancing on the sidelines going crazy?
Let the father be happy. What's wrong with that?
I just think it's a little excessive because he's drawing attention to himself instead of letting his son, just get credit for what he's doing. And his son's a really talented player.
I don't think you can call him a bad father for that. I mean, there's someone in the world with the last name of Ball who, is definitely not so much likable as well. And, it seems like his parenting techniques are a little bit worse than LeBron's. LeBron's just happy for his son to be doing well, as any father would be. But it's because it's LeBron that he's getting that attention, and that's where it is. But to bring this is a tangent, but needless to say, Yanni somehow managed to win that bet because LeBron failed me, and I have to live that down for the rest of my life. And I lost $50 out of it. So, LeBron, I'm disappointed, but you're playing very well this year, so I can't be that mad.
I mean, you can say it was obnoxious or a little narcissist, but I think that's fair.
But 90% of what he does is narcissistic.
I know, and that's a fair statement. I'm not arguing with that, but I think leaping to he's a bad father. I'm not saying you said that.
I did not say that.
I know. I'm just saying Yanni has said that.
Yeah, Yanni.
And he's on the record as saying that.
Yanni needs to take a little chill pill on the LeBron hate because LeBron, he's a big philanthropist. He doesn't really get in trouble at all. Like, what I hate about LeBron is the fact that when he was really butting into, like, the megastar that he is now, he was one of the leaders in the group of players that were bitching and moaning to
Yeah.
a really excessive rate on every single call that went against them, right or wrong. And I think that he kind of infected the rest of the NBA because what do we always say about the NBA? It's a copycat league. And I think that applies to this too, where LeBron's attitude of just moaning and crying and wailing like a 4-year-old kid who doesn't get something their way, that kind of infected a lot of the league.
As much as I agree with you, especially in his early days in Miami when he lost in 2011, that was very evident. But lately, you see some things come out on social media outlets of him reflecting on that past and saying, like, I had to grow up. I had all this pressure, whatever it was, all these excuses. But no matter if it's LeBron or anyone else in the league, if someone owning up to how they used to be and, reflecting on it, I think it shows true character, and that's something to hang your hat on, regardless if you like the guy or not.
Yeah, I think this year he's, especially compared to last year. Last year he was a horrible leader on the court and on the bench, but this year I think there's no question. Even if you don't want to call him a good leader this year, I think he's definitely improved from last year. I remember that shot where he was like 5 seats, there were 5 empty seats between his teammates and him on the end of the bench, and that irked me.
Well, that had a lot to do with the fact that he wanted all those guys gone.
That's another thing that people don't like about him is that constantly throughout his career, he has been that guy that's like, I'm going to be the manager. I'm going to figure this all out, and you're going to listen to what I say because I want this person on my team because I think he's going to be better than the person that's already in this role. And you see that. You saw that in Cleveland. He never has enough help, and that's another thing that people always are talking about with LeBron. And, I get everything that people say against LeBron.
To be fair, he did say this year he has enough to win. So
and he does.
Yeah, and he does. And has he ever said that? I feel like he said that in Cleveland.
In Miami. And
then
Cleveland in the year where they actually won it.
Yeah.
Although I think who got hurt?
And the first time it was Kyrie and Kevin Love.
Yeah, they both got hurt. And then they were healthy when they won.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, that team was enough. And they had, decent enough role players on that team. I mean, what year was that? That was 2015, 16?
Yeah. Well, it was in 2015 they lost the first time, but it was
it was 2016. Yeah, because they had role players such as they had an older Richard Jefferson who still had decent minutes. Timothy Mozgov before he was a total scrub. Tristan Thompson was good then.
Matthew Dellavedova, I think, was on that team.
Delly was a good backup point guard to Kyrie. He was a very obnoxious defensive player, which helped them. And also, another point to harp on LeBron, they were 30-11 when they got rid of David Blatt. And I get it. They get rid of David Blatt, hire Tyronn Lue, win a title. So there is the aspect where I respect that. But at the same time, it's like they were winning with the guy.
Are you saying LeBron has an influence on who coaches his teams?
Well, we know that. I'm just saying I didn't like how that turned out. But that's enough LeBron talk. I'm going to throw up if we keep going on this.
Yeah, that's not how I imagined we'd start the new year.
Yeah, it was just strictly, I'm still upset that LeBron failed me, and now Yanni has something over my head.
Moving on, a little bit of a lighter topic. NBA All-Star starters have been announced.
Big news, yeah.
Starting in the East, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo as the captain. And rounding out the front court, we have Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors in his first All-Star appearance. Joel Embiid in his 4th All-Star appearance, I'm pretty sure.
I think it's third.
Third, yeah. Kemba's in his 4th All-Star appearance.
Kemba's in his 4th, correct.
Trae Young got his first All-Star bid. What number is this for LeBron in the Western Conference?
I think it's his
15th or 16th? Then we got AD, Kawhi, Luka, James Harden to round out the Western Conference. So, obviously, the Western Conference is a much better all-star starting 5 than the Eastern Conference, but luckily it doesn't really matter because they do the draft now.
No.
That being said, my question is, who were the biggest snubs from the starting lineup, in your opinion?
I think there's a consensus that the West seems right with who they picked as starters.
I agree.
I think there's no debate there. The biggest thing we're all hearing is that Jimmy Butler should have been somewhere in there. And, people saying, because he's considered a small forward. He had to be in the front court to be an all-star.
Yeah.
But I personally wanted to see Trae Young. I think Kemba Walker was a lock. I definitely didn't think Ben Simmons deserved to be a starter.
No way.
Not Bradley Beal, I kind of understood, but I really want to see Trae Young because he's just so phenomenal. I love to see that Trae Young-Luka matchup as well. Giannis, a no-brainer. And then in terms of Siakam and Joel, I think Joel's pretty obvious. And the debate comes from, would you put Jimmy Butler over Siakam? And, there's a fair debate. I personally would have chosen Siakam, but Jimmy's doing work down in Miami. And I know a lot of people would have picked him to fill that Trae Young spot as if he was considered because he really does play a lot too.
I would have.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really happy how it worked out that Trae Young got that spot.
I quite honestly agree with everything you're saying. But to go on to Ben Simmons for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that Ben Simmons without Embiid is just so much better. And I think if we saw a full season of Ben Simmons without Embiid, I think he'd probably be an all-star starter over maybe Siakam or if he's in the guard role, Trae Young. because, like, looking at his stats, since Embiid's been out January 6th,
He's coming back soon.
yeah, he is coming back soon, but Simmons has been shooting 62% from the field, playing 40 minutes a night, 20 points, 8 assists, 10 boards, a positive plus-minus, a couple of games with really good plus-minus. Overall plus-minus is 2.9, but it was brought down because of the loss 2 nights ago in Toronto. But Ben Simmons is the ultimate run-the-floor player, pace and play. He's the ultimate fast break, get a steal, which he kind of leads the league
Great
in.
defender, I think.
He's a brilliant defender.
Yeah.
He's as good of a defender as anybody in the NBA. And, like, I'm not usually one to stick up for him, but I just think that they need to get rid of either Embiid or get rid of Simmons. They have to figure out which way they want to go. Because if they want to be a team that relies on a big and bullying people down low, using their physicality, having shooters around that, and, like, kind of playing like a pace and play, like a slow offense, sort of like the Grizzlies from a couple years ago,
Yep, grit and grind.
go that route. If you want to go the Ben Simmons route, Ben Simmons is the worst possible player to pair with Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid needs somebody.
They both love the same spot in the court.
Exactly. And Embiid needs someone to kick it out to. Simmons needs someone to kick it out to. So it's just not a natural fit. My buddy Kirk Stewart, I have to shout him out every time. He's been saying that since the second they stepped on the court together. And he couldn't be more right.
Yeah, I mean, you want to dominate down low with Joel Embiid, then you don't get rid of J.J. Redick. That's your guy. I mean, fill the perimeter with shooters rather than who do they have now for
Well,
shooters?
look at who else they got rid of. They got rid of Landry Shamet, who's been a great shooter. But now they have Tobias Harris, Furkan Korkmaz, Josh Richardson, I guess.
I mean, he can shoot the three, but he's not a knockdown 3-point shooter. And that issue, I mean, the game is so different now. So if you're gonna go with someone like Embiid, like, you got to get the shooters, but you can't have a Ben Simmons who's 6'7" and clogging up that paint.
He's bigger than 6'7".
Or 6'9",
11.
6'11",
He's like
6'11".
6'10".
Either way, somewhere from 6'9" to 6'11".
Yes, yeah. He's
You never quite know with them. And then putting Al Horford, that's even more. I mean, he spaces the floor, I guess, a little bit, but that's another big body, and Tobias Harris is another big body too. So it's like, yeah, they have the size, but how is that going to translate really as we keep moving forward? I mean, they're having a solid year, but nothing seems to be changing with them. It seems to be the same exact thing over and over again.
It's been underwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah, I read somewhere that Al Horford's not happy with his role because he's basically just become when Embiid's on the floor, Embiid and Simmons are both there, he's basically just become a shooter on the perimeter.
It's no fit. Yeah, exactly.
No, and I'd like to think we can all agree that Ben Simmons has more trade value because he has that longer deal, and he's always, for the most part, has been healthy ever since that first year. Embiid has that injury problem, and he's on a shorter deal too.
Yes.
So Embiid would be, I think, easier to trade, but nothing will happen this year. But I think that will happen in the years.
So what will have to occur for a trade to happen in your minds? Like a first-round exit, second-round exit, third-round exit? Like, what do you guys think?
I mean, if they're in that 4-5 seed with Toronto, that's the way I look at it. Toronto and Philly will be the 4-5, and then the Heat at the 3, or the Celtics at the 3, versus vice versa, and then obviously the Bucks leaning out. But if they get that 4-5 matchup with Toronto and lose that, like, do something, figure it out.
I think Brett Brown's gone before either of them.
Yeah, he's already on the hot seat.
Rightfully so. You can't keep losing all these series with the talent that you have.
That Toronto loss wasn't as bad as the Boston one before. There was no question that when Boston went on that amazing run to the conference finals, that Philly was more. I actually picked Philly to win that series when it happened.
I think most people
because
would have.
I thought it was
too.
like they were Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were playing well. They didn't have Kyrie Irving. Jason Tatum was on the rise, but like who would have thought like he would have that breakout playoff performance? And the East is just so interesting to me because Philly matches up so well against. It seems like Milwaukee and Boston the best, but just suck compared to Miami and Toronto. Whereas like Boston is the opposite, where they have a tough time against Philly, especially, and then Milwaukee, but play well against Miami, Toronto, and the Pacers to an extent. So it really depends on the seeding. If Philly gets a 6 seed and has to play Miami in the first round or something,
I'll take Miami in that.
I'll take Miami too.
So what about a 4-5 where it's Indiana and Philly? Who do you take?
Ooh, again, Indiana matches up well. I think,
And they'll have Oladipo back at that
they'll
point.
have Oladipo.
And they have two really solid bigs. I mean, Miles Turner's kind of underwhelming at times.
This year,
but,
yeah, I think
but he
so.
can at least, it's a body to put up against Embiid. And then Sabonis has been having an incredible year, spurts, and for the most part. So I think this is the strongest the East has been in years. I honestly believe.
I totally agree.
You know, you have a team like the Pistons and the Nets. Like the Nets, Kyrie's, obviously moaning that he needs more help, and it sounds like he's taking after his old friend LeBron. Any of those like 7, 8, 6 seeds, like they're going to put up a little bit of a fight, and it's not going to be an easy first round for anyone, I don't think.
The Nets are going to give a good first round. They're going to give a tough time to whoever on that.
Do you think it'll be, for the Nets, is that implying that Kyrie's going to be playing or not?
Ideally, if he's healthy, he'll be playing. But
I don't know how tough they'll be.
I mean,
I don't see,
I'm not even
because this Nets team is worse than last year's Celtics team. and their chemistry isn't that much better.
No, you're right. But I think with Joe Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie, like leaving Kyrie Irving,
Yeah, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart.
I know. I'm
Come
just
on.
saying that obviously the Celtics will be better. I'm just saying that like if the
Well, I'm comparing last year's Celtics to
if
this
like
year's
Miami
Nets.
has to play or Pacers have to play for the Nets for the first round,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any team in the East except Milwaukee can beat the Nets in 4 games straight in a 4-game sweep.
Okay, I can
And
agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. I think they'll give. I think they're the 8th seed. I don't know who I'm blanking
The
on
Nets
who's-
are currently the 8th seed. Yeah.
Who's the 7th?
The Magic.
Yeah, Magic are weird.
Magic are 21 and 24. The Nets are 18 and 25.
Yeah, Magic are weird this year.
They struggle
They're better,
offensively.
but they're just they have like, I don't know, like they beat the Lakers.
Well, they had Vooch gone for a long time.
They did.
Now they've Jonathan Isaac gone for a long time. So they've had their injury
Yeah.
issues. But what I like about the Magic, if we want to talk about them for a minute, my boy.
Educate me because I don't know a lot about the Magic.
Okay, 2 things. Evan Fournier, he's having a career year.
Yes.
Fournier is averaging a solid career high, 18.9 points. Dude's shooting 40% from 3, like exactly like we would. And what did I tell you in the beginning of the season when you were debating on drafting like
You know-
him or like Thad Young?
Well, it was our
I
league
was
got
telling
him.
you Fournier. No, you drafted Fournier, then you dropped him.
Yes, but I have him again.
Oh, okay.
So
it's
it all
whatever.
worked out, but you're right. You did say he'd be good.
Yeah.
I was like, I drafted him by mistake. I need to get rid of him. And you're like, no, keep him. And I kept him for a little bit, and then I dropped him. And I picked him up again. And he's been playing. He's like 20 points, almost 20 points.
Yeah,
a game.
he's 18.9. He's legit. So he's been playing well, and then the other guy's been playing really well that I don't think anyone really thought would happen, but Markelle Fultz. Dude's legit. I mean, he's only averaging 12 points, 4.5 assists.
I think
Not
he's a lot
really-
more comfortable and just happier.
That's the thing. He needed to leave Philadelphia, and I think like going to a team like the Magic, or he could go, I could see him in somewhere like Oklahoma City, just a lower level media market. That's perfect for him, just so he can be out of the spotlight, let himself develop as a player. Low key, the Magic have been doing a good job of developing their young talent because you look at Vucevic has spent his whole career with them, and then Jonathan Isaac has really developed into an elite defender. We'll see where Mo Bamba goes. Fournier kind of struggled with the Nuggets, and he goes to the Magic. All of a sudden, he's an elite three-point shooter. There's a lot of reason to be confident in Markelle Fultz going on.
Well, I think something you could relate to is Markelle Fultz and kind of like a D'Angelo Russell kind of situation where D'Angelo was just not in a good situation with LA, and he went to all these different places, and he signed that contract this summer, and now he's like regarded as an all-star type kind of player. So sometimes where you get drafted is just not a good fit, and they're trying to make you develop not the way you're supposed to or what have you. And I think it's good for players like that to get out of that toxic, negative environment and like go to a team where you're going to play in a really bad market or on a bad team and not win games for a few years, but you're going to develop and they're going to work their ass off to get you where you are. And then by the time you're ready to sign that next contract, you're going to sign them and they're going to help you and bring in other players, or you're going to go somewhere else and contribute to a better team.
And get the money you deserve after you've put in all the work. But I think another thing is the mark of a great coach, not forcing players into your game plan. It's making a game plan that works for your players. And I think that that's kind of what we're seeing with the Magic more than what we saw with Philadelphia, for example. Like I think Steve Clifford's doing a decent job out
Yeah,
there.
he is.
Because it seems like obviously they kind of struggle offensively, but again, injuries have been an issue with that.
I don't think the Magic will have any All-Stars this year. I don't think
No.
Vucevic has played
Vooch
enough.
missed too much time.
He missed too much time.
Yeah.
His numbers have been good. It's just that he missed too much time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really hard to do.
So one thing that's been really frustrating me personally as an NBA fan, 2 people. And it's not their fault because they're just going out and playing basketball like they should. But Tacko Fall and Alex Caruso, specifically Caruso. The fact that these guys get so much exposure compared to the likes of some lower level player who is having success on the court, like I'll bet more people know who Alex Caruso is than they know Pascal Siakam or Jaylen Brown or a guy like Josh Richardson. These guys are all legitimate borderline or legitimate all-star starters aren't getting the exposure they deserve in their breakout years because Twitter is kind of overwhelmed by memes surrounding the balding white guy in the Lakers who is talented and he's a good dunker and he works hard on defense and I like his game and he's not doing anything to promote himself really extensively except he looks really goofy with that headband and I think he knows that that's getting him likes and whatever. But what I want you guys to answer is A, do you like the fact that Tacko Fall and Alex Caruso are getting more votes than other people? And B, do you think it's bad for the game that they're getting this much exposure?
I think that it brings a new type of fan into the mix where it's like you don't have to really understand basketball or like it that much. You just have to kind of follow it on social media. And that can be a detrimental thing to the league because the NBA, it has, it's not good and it's not bad because there's all these fouls and all these problems and everyone cries and complains and all this stuff, and you don't want that. And then to add on to it, you have like people like Tacko Fall, and rightfully so. Like, he's a giant. He's this name, oh my God, his name's Taco. Like, obviously he's going to do it, but I think just really what you have to put it down to is this idea that, like, it's really is just social media is so prevalent in our society that if somebody is just, like, Caruso has a few good games and he's playing with LeBron and AD, like, automatically he's this god or something.
But there's the argument that it's not just like the Joe Schmoes on Twitter that are promoting him. It's like the legitimate NBA writers who are tweeting about these guys.
It's people on podcasts. I voted for Tacko Fall a bunch of times, and I think we have to keep in mind that it's a fan vote. They decreased how much the fan vote matters over the years because of that whole Zaza Pachulia stuff that happened, where he literally almost got into the game. And of course, these guys don't deserve to be in the game, but the fans are consuming the product that the NBA is giving off. And Tacko Fall and Alex Caruso are just the fans love them. So if they want to vote for them, I don't see the harm in it. And that's why they have the checks and balances of the media and the players to keep the fans in check. If you've noted, I don't know if you saw because the West was pretty simple for the starters, but it was so interesting to me. I don't know if you saw the TNT clip that the East, there was such a difference between the players and the media and who they voted for East guards. I think the players really pushed for Bradley Beal.
Kemba was unanimous.
Yeah, Kemba was unanimous, but
between Beal and Young, and then Ben Simmons. I just thought there was like the media
was more for Trae Young. The fan vote was for Kyrie Irving and
Trae Young.
Well, if it was just the fan vote, the East guards would have been Kemba and Kyrie.
Yeah.
And if it was just the player vote, it would have been Kemba and Bradley Beal. And if it was just the media vote, it would have been Trae Young and Kemba, which is how it worked out. So like and dislike, it doesn't really matter to me as much. And I don't think it's necessarily bad for the NBA either. I don't think people like Jaylen Brown and like even Bradley Tacko Fall and Alex Caruso both got more. Alex Caruso was the fourth leading vote getter of guards in the West.
It's crazy.
I don't think anyone should be offended by that. I think that
Chris Paul should be offended by that.
I mean, I just think obviously those players are better, but I don't know if they should be offended. Like, I think just fans like being fans. Like Alex Caruso, you saw his like before and after images where he's ripped.
Whatever. So he's in the NBA. He should be ripped.
Yeah. I guess it's not a big deal. It can be. I don't know. It just depends how you look at it. It can be detrimental, but it also is just like it's bringing a new audience to the game, which might help the opinion about the NBA in general.
I'll tell you why it's a big deal. It's a big deal because this new audience, they're going to watch it for a minute, but when they're watching it and they only see a guy who's playing 10 minutes a night or a guy who's playing in Maine, which isn't really broadcast nationally, and they're expecting to see one of those guys, because think about it, you're some random guy in, let's say, India, for example, and you just see on Twitter all this talk about Alex Caruso, Tacko Fall, and the one time you actually watch an NBA game, let's say you're watching the Lakers, and let's say you're watching Lakers versus, give me a team.
Nuggets.
Lakers-Nuggets, okay? You'll be expecting to see Alex Caruso doing a lot, but what you're going to get is Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris doing their thing, Michael Porter Jr. They're the really good players, and they're not going to know who these people are. And they'll be like, oh, this isn't what I expected. Like, why am I supposed to care about this if Jamal Murray's not getting publicized?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but what I can say is that I saw Jackie McMullen interview Tacko Fall, and Brad Stevens was talking about Tacko Fall, and I don't like how people will just go up to Tacko Fall and not necessarily treat him as a person, but treat him as a meme. Just not even ask to take pictures. They just come up to him and say, just take a picture of him like he's some freak.
He's a real person.
He's a real person, and I don't like that. They got to treat him like anyone else. But at the same time, I think it is important to have. Some people are saying get rid of the fan vote. No. I think fan vote,
fan vote keeps the fans interested.
It does, and I think it's interesting to see who fans are voting for. And I think that 4 Boston players make it into the top 10 of both. Jaylen Brown was in the top 10 at one point. Jason Tatum obviously will be an all-star this year, and then obviously Tacko Fall and Kemba. So
no, and Hayward was in the top 10 for a bit too.
Yeah, that's right. Hayward was in the top 10, so that's 5 right there. So, well, I think that just says something about Boston fans or Celtics fans in general voting.
I voted for Marcus Smart every time.
Of course, I did too. I voted for 6 Celtics players every time. JB, JT, Kemba, Marcus Smart, Gordon Hayward, and Tacko Fall.
So here are the guys I voted for every time. I voted for Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Spencer Dinwiddie, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chris Paul, Devontae Graham. Every single vote that I did, and then the last couple I just Bam Adebayo here and there.
Yeah, and to add to that 6, I also always voted for Harden, Westbrook, Kelly Oubre, and Who did you just say? I can't even remember.
Mine?
Trae
Trae
Young.
Young.
I voted for Trae Young every time too. And I voted for Luka a few times.
I gave Trae a couple votes.
Because I wanted
and
Luka to be
Luka.
the captain. I didn't want LeBron to be the captain. I wanted to see that Luka.
But you knew it was going to be LeBron because of the player and the media vote.
Well, the captains don't determine media.
Oh, is the captain just fan vote?
Yeah, just whoever gets the most votes.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted Luka, so I voted Luka a bunch of times. But then once LeBron was getting the lead, I was like, "There's no way it's gonna happen."
I guess I'm a bad fan because I don't vote, but I appreciate it. I got to bounce, but gentlemen, I'm definitely going to come back and do this again.
Yeah, I want to see you with Yanni and give him the business.
Absolutely. So next time Yanni's around, I will definitely join you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Chad, great having you on the pod. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for being a good fill-in.
So that is it for Chad Ripley on today's episode of the Teenage HoopCats podcast. If we had advertising, this would be a great time for an ad read, but we do not have any advertising. But, we can advertise something.
Advertise the magazine.
Main Street Magazine. Pick it up. You can find it really anywhere on the UNH campus.
Tell us about the magazine. What's it all about?
So Main Street Magazine is really a beautiful thing because it's kind of a culmination of creative people on the UNH campus who have their own stories and they want to get it out, whether it be a fictional piece, whether it be a real piece of hard-hitting journalism, really whatever it may be. You can find something that you'll enjoy in Main Street Magazine. The art is great. The people are great. It's really just a pleasurable experience. So continuing, Matt, any topics you want to go over?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Rockets' struggles a little bit. I see Westbrook playing these last 6 games over. I think they're 2-4, 2-5 over the last something. Westbrook has been playing such efficient basketball, and he's looking really good. But James Harden just can't see. He's going through a really bad shooting slump.
Ever since that Memphis game.
Yeah, and Memphis has a lot of momentum. So I'm not. Yeah, the Rockets absolutely should have won that game, as I think most games they should, because I think they're a really good team. But at Memphis, I'm all right with that. And then they played OKC the next day, right? No, they played Portland the next day and lost Portland. And that was a pretty bad loss because Damian Lillard's been balling. And someone who's not getting enough attention is Hassan Whiteside.
He's had a good year.
He's putting up tremendous numbers in rebounding and blocks. He's averaging 3 blocks a game and 14 rebounds. That man is amazing, and I'm just so because I've been wanting to get him on my fantasy team. I've been sending some trades out, and because he's just so amazing. But anyway,
I can't wait till Nurkic is back.
Yeah, and that's what I'm a little worried about, is because I think I've been reading that they're going to try and trade Whiteside before the deadline, but I don't, because it's a expiring deal.
Yeah.
Right. So, but anyway, I don't want to get off topic. So the Rockets lost that game pretty bad. Again, Harden didn't shoot well, and I think that was one of Westbrook's bad games. But the game I really want to point to is the OKC game, where Harden shot 1 for 17 on 3-pointers. And I'm a big fan of James Harden. I think without Kevin Durant in the league, he's the best offensive player by far. And to go 1 from 17 when you have a great shooter in PJ Tucker around you, got Eric Gordon, you got Clint Capella, who's, I think, again, having another career year.
I think he's the best rim runner in basketball.
I was thinking about this. I'd put him as a top 5 big in the NBA behind Kat, Jokic, Embiid, and Gobert.
I don't know about that
because I couldn't think of anyone. Who else would you?
I'd put Vucevic over him just because he's a little more talented with a little more skillful with the basketball.
Fair. I'll accept that. I think that's a good point. I forgot about Vucevic.
I put Sabonis over him too.
He's not really a 5 though. I'm thinking just straight. Oh,
just straight up 5s.
Yeah, just like centers.
Yeah.
Sabonis is more of a power forward, and same with AD. But anyway, Harden, as soon as you go 1 for 9, if I know they say keep shooting because going 0 for 30 is going better than 0 for 7 because it shows that you're not afraid to shoot the ball. But at some point, you got to let Westbrook take over. You got to let PJ Tucker shoot. You got to let Eric Gordon, because you're not doing the business. They were up that whole game except for that fourth quarter when the Thunder went on a
But you have to
22.
You have to appreciate that that's what makes James Harden James Harden, that he never gives up.
I know, but he's got to be smart.
He'll have games like that. And personally, I'm not a Rockets fan, but if I were a Rockets fan, I'd rather see him throwing up clunkers in January than, April or May.
Normally I'd say you're right, but this year especially where, again, like the East, that 1 through 6 seed, and even the 7th, Oklahoma's coming up. Oklahoma's a great team, and that's nothing against Oklahoma.
One game behind Houston.
Yeah, so Rockets could easily be the 7th seed and have to play the Clip. They don't want to face one of those big LA teams or whoever in the first round, so they got to get back to being in the top 4 if they want a chance. I think the Rockets could easily beat the Nuggets and the Mavericks, and even above them on a good day. Thunder's giving them trouble. I don't know. And those both LA teams. And again, Rockets should have easily beaten LA without Anthony Davis, but they somehow let that fall. So I'm starting to get worried. I think Mike D'Antoni's on the hot seat.
He's been on the hot seat.
He's been on the. I think he's more than ever on the hot seat.
Do you think that there's any chance for a mid-season fire?
No, not at all. I don't think they have anyone lined up, and I think Mike D'Antoni's so brilliantly offensively.
Yeah, they just can't do that.
They don't want to do that. Definitely not mid-season.
And his contract expires after this season.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it'll be a natural departure.
Yeah, and I'm worried about Houston without Mike D'Antoni, because I'm telling you, whatever new coach comes in, if they get a new coach, is not going to treat James Harden the same way
Yes,
my
they
concern.
will. Why wouldn't they?
They're
But
not going to
it's
say
a-
James Harden take the ball and do whatever you want. They're going to run more of a system.
But it'll be a system that gets James Harden the ball in good
Yes,
spots.
but I think it's going to be more of getting open looks rather than him dribbling. Like, because I'm looking at these box scores, and PJ Tucker's hitting 2, 3, 5, like these just single-digit points, and I'm like, this is one of the best corner three shooters in the league. So why aren't you giving him the ball?
I mean, PJ Tucker.
And
like,
he's battling a shoulder injury or something. or an arm injury.
I know what you're saying, and I see where you're coming from, but he's averaging a career high with Houston right now in points, like for his tenure in Houston.
Yeah, but this year is different. I think that amazing year they had 2 years ago when they were that 64 wins, he was a big part of that.
He seemed like more of a focal point of their offense.
Absolutely. But I don't know. I'm worried. I really am. I'm starting to shake because I picked them and the Celtics to be. I think I picked them and the Celtics.
Yeah, you
Might have
did.
been them in Milwaukee. I don't know.
Either way, I know you had Houston in the finals.
I did. I absolutely did. But they're not in that top four. It's difficult.
So talking about one of those teams that have been at the top of the Western Conference for most of the season, the Denver Nuggets. They've got a player by the name of Michael Porter Jr.
He's been balling.
That kid is a beast. I don't know if he can stay healthy, but I don't want to dwell on that because that's an obvious question. He's questionable right now with his back again. But, I mean, this guy is dynamic with the ball in his hands.
Yeah,
He can score from anywhere. I don't want to say Kevin Durant.
someone made a comparison, which I thought was so interesting. I think it was like a mix of Kevin. Like it was something like.
Because he's got the same body type as Durant.
He does, and he has this. I feel like he's the same shooting motion as
And
well.
And he can shoot from anywhere on the court.
Yeah, he's good, and I'm glad the Nuggets are giving him more playing time and starting to like ease his way back into it. He didn't play the last game. He had just a sudden back thing that they just kept him out at the last
back
minute.
spasm,
And
yeah.
that's good. But I know for a fact that I've been hearing that he's one of the untouchables on that team for a trade, if
As
they
he
were to
should be.
trade. And so I think he's going to get a lot more minutes as the time goes on, and he may even find his way into the starting lineup. Maybe not this year, but he'll be getting in there for sure.
Yeah, he's an example of a player where his success in the league is purely going to depend on his health.
Yeah.
Because if he's healthy, he'll be a superstar. I think he'll be a borderline MVP candidate at some point.
Yeah, give him.
You think that's
give
too
him
much, or?
Let's see. It's hard. This year, he's really easing his way back into it, so it's hard to give a good guess. But once he,
I guess I am getting a
once he
little
gets a
excited.
solid minute rotation, and like as it finds a way in the starting lineup, I don't doubt it at all.
Yeah.
I see the Nuggets winning in the future.
Yeah, the potential is
They
clearly
have such
there.
a young core there, and Paul Millsap's been such a great. I know he's been out, but he's been such
He's
a
a
great
great
leader
addition.
for
Great
that
addition.
team.
Yeah, I like what they have going on. With
I like Mike
as-
Malone. I like him as a coach.
Yeah, like as we said, we already talked about Murray a little bit, but they've also got Will Barton, who's a very good player. I personally like Malik Beasley and Torrey Craig, although they're
Yep.
both kind of being phased out,
Are they?
out of the
I
lineup.
think they're both expiring contracts.
I
as well.
believe so,
I know
yeah.
Torrey Craig is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been hearing that Drew Holiday and could be a possible addition, or Robert.
Wouldn't that make for a bit of a logjam?
It would, but my point is that Drew Holiday I don't think is on the market, so I don't think the Nuggets are going to make any big moves before the trade deadline.
I don't believe so either. But do you want to touch on the Pelicans for a little bit?
I mean, Pelicans are. I think this week, the last week, have been so not like leaving Zion out of it. Zion's a big part of it, but it's been so interesting. Drew Holiday finally came back, hit like 7 or 8. I think he hit seven
He had 7 threes. It was
that was
awesome.
most of his career, and I want to say most in Pelicans history, or maybe tied for Pelicans history.
Up there at least.
Yeah. So and Lonzo Ball been balling.
He's been the difference maker for them. Lonzo Ball.
Yeah. He's been playing really well.
It's like a newfound aggression.
Those players are so much better off doing their own thing they pretty much have their own team.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good pieces, and I don't know if I'm a believer that they'll make the playoffs. I have to see more, because I think if you leave Zion Williamson in that game, we'll see. I mean, he had a really slow, maybe he wasn't trying as much start.
Yeah.
But then he obviously went off in the fourth quarter. I don't think every game he'll hit 4 threes, and I don't think that defense will be that lax on him from the perimeter. But the Pelicans are a very fun team to watch. I think if I disclude the Celtics, because they're my number one team to watch, the most fun teams to watch, Milwaukee and Pelicans.
Really?
I mean, I loved watching the Rockets, but they're just sometimes not fun to watch.
Yeah, they can be frustrating.
Yeah,
when they're
but
missing
I love the
shots.
pick and rolls. I'd put Rockets as third for me.
I'd throw
For me
the Grizzlies
personally.
in there.
Grizzlies have been very fun to watch, absolutely. But I struggle to find myself just putting on the channel and watching a Grizzlies game.
Yeah,
But like Milwaukee, I think it's just fun. Like, because they're winning, and I like this.
Milwaukee's pretty unreal.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've noticed about from looking at the box scores of the Pelicans, Jahlil Okafor has been having a great season, but he's getting phased out of the lineup now.
I think he's been hurt too, right?
Well, he was hurt, came back 2 games ago, healthy scratch last game also against the Spurs. Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, I mean, think about it. Derek Favors is clearly the best 5 on that team. He missed a lot of time, but he's been playing really well. I don't know what the deal was, but I think he had the first few points of the Spurs game, he was on 22 to 22 field goal. He made 22 field goals in a row. Then Jackson Hayes has been really.
Hayes is good.
He's such a freak of nature that
he's
super athletic. So where is the spot for Jahlil Okafor?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
and since
Zion obviously kind of pushes him to the side.
Pushes him. Yeah.
I didn't like Jahlil Okafor coming out of college. I didn't like him with the Sixers. Didn't like him with Brooklyn. But I just felt he had a bit of a resurgence after losing all that weight in New Orleans and kind of finding himself.
He looked good when he was he looked decent when he was
I thought he was finding himself. And I just think it's unfair to him since he's clearly worked really hard and improved his game to be just phased out of a lineup like that.
Yeah.
Do you think he's a trade candidate?
He could be. But
I feel like there's got to be.
Who wants a Jahlil Okafor?
Trade Vincent Poirier for him?
I don't know. I don't know who needs a really. I guess he can still consider him young, but
he is young. He's 24.
Well, yeah, he's definitely young. My mistake. Thought he was a little older than that. But who wants?
Well, he's been in the league forever.
Yeah.
Feels like.
Who the Hawks? I don't.
The Hawks. They're not in contention.
Yeah, I know. So who would who
maybe
needs a backup center?
Who's backing up Bam?
Bam's more of a 4, right? And Miles Leonard is the 5.
Yeah. So the big men for the Heat are Bam, who's listed as a center in Basketball Reference.
He is okay.
Myers Leonard, who's taller than Bam, but whatever.
I think
Kelly Olynyk and then James Johnson. So who do you? Here's a question for you, Matt.
Okay.
Who would you rather have, Jahlil Okafor or James Johnson?
I'm trying to find the most recent Miami game to look. It was Martin Luther King Day, maybe.
Well, I have my answer if you want to hear it.
I don't know James Johnson's stats off my hand.
James Johnson, the stats don't matter. The dude is a black belt, and he's one of the most intimidating men in all of basketball.
You'd pick James Johnson?
Yeah, and he's a huge, great leader. So
yeah, if that's true, again, I don't know a lot about James Johnson, but I believe you. I'm gonna take what you say for your word, and if that's true, yeah, James Johnson.
Yeah, just looking around the league, I think Matt. You raised a good point. I can't put my finger on one team that needs a backup big right now.
There might be a team out there who has a lot of faith in him, but through seasons.
And the teams that would, not even, because I'm looking at the weaker teams like the Kings. They've got Dedmon, who's in a bad situation, and he wants out.
Which is so interesting to me, that situation.
Yeah, I didn't understand that signing in the first place.
Not to get too off topic, but I heard on the Hoop Collective that all the Hawks players last year loved him as a locker room leader.
Yes, exactly.
But then now it comes to the Kings, and I don't know
he's a cancer.
what it is. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I think part of it is the emergence of Richaun Holmes.
Yeah, he's been really
Shout
good.
out Richaun Holmes.
How long is he out for?
Shares the same birthday as me. I'll tell you in a second.
Yeah, I know he's out, but he's been playing really well too.
2 to 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. Okay, well.
That update was from 12 days ago, so he should be back in a week.
Yeah, no, that's good. I know. There's just so much we can talk.
They just did the trade with the Blazers.
Yes, that's right.
Where they acquired, who'd they acquire? Kent Bazemore?
Yep, yeah.
Anthony Tolliver?
Yeah, and the Portland got a lot of salary relief from that.
Yeah.
Trevor Ariza has been I know Trevor Ariza is good, but he's on this decline, and I get that made sense. But
I still like Ariza as just a role player.
But we have to remember that Trevor Ariza was traded for Kelly Oubre Jr.
For the Wizards, yeah.
Yeah, and then Oubre has become one of my favorites. He's a top 10 player on my
favorite
players
list. That
list.
was a huge steal for the Suns.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk about Oubre for a little bit.
Okay, I love Oubre.
Oubre is a dynamic scorer, straight up.
Great defender.
And because he's got the size, the length, the speed, the athleticism. Dude's averaging 18 points per game with the Phoenix Suns. He's playing 34 minutes, and he's shooting a really solid 45% from the field.
He's really fun to watch, and he's such a great player. So
he's efficient.
Yeah. I did a fantasy trade in my other league that involved him because I drafted Kelly Oubre because I really believe in this guy, and he was the hardest one to give up for me.
Yeah.
I was my opponent wanted
the trade?
him. So I gave away Julius Randle, Kelly Oubre, and Lou Williams for out Joel Embiid and out Drew Holiday at the time.
Ooh.
I needed more. I wanted.
When you need more blocks and steals.
Yeah, I need. Drew Holiday has been playing really well, and Joel Embiid I was putting a lot of faith in, and Julius Randle is a walking double for the most part. Lou Williams is a great scorer, and his assist numbers.
But all he
went up
really
too.
does is score and assist.
Yeah, so I needed less scoring and more rebounding and
steals and
yes,
blocks.
Which is ironic because now for my big three. On my other league, I have probably the three best rebound. Well, three superstars.
Who?
Giannis, Davis, and Joel.
And Joel, that's really good.
Once Joel gets back, I'll see how my team is doing. I had a bad loss last week because Davis was out the whole time. Joel's been out. Drew Holiday was out all the time. So we'll see how it goes. But good start back, absolutely.
Yeah, this is a good start. Chad, fun having Chad on the podcast
I love Chad.
today.
Yeah, good, absolutely. Ben, do you have any words for us?
I've really got nothing basketball related to say, but we thank you all for tuning in as always, and we hope you check out the rest of the episodes on Bandcamp, and we'll have more episodes in the coming week. And also, if you notice any difference in the sound quality, that's because we were returning to our roots briefly this week. Next week, we'll be back in the studio. And
I don't know about that.
Well, we'll try.
It depends on WUNH, where we usually record. They've had a little problem with their soundboard, and it just depends on when it gets fixed. And it sounds like it's been a slow process. We're hoping for next week.
But
we don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Wise words, Benjamin. Wise words.
Yeah, so that about does it for this episode of the Teenage HoopCats podcast, the Teenage Podcast Network. I'd like to thank our guests, Chad Ripley and Matt Erb. Shout out to our producer, Ben Strawbridge. We wouldn't be here without him. And shout out to Miguel Euler Castillo for the music. And good night.
Good night. Yeah.
See you later.